Hey, so just in follow-up to my last video where the engine wasn't running and I had all sorts of issues and I'd lost some parts. Well, I found the missing parts. There they are. My missing window regulators have been located, so I can now fit those onto my glasses and fit my glasses into my doors. While I was at it, I've also sourced a couple of other bits. I've got a piece of braided pipe here for the valve body covers to the oil catch can that I made. And a friend of mine has just lent me that temporarily to see if it will work. It's a transmission cooler, which I am thinking about mounting back here on that rear crossbar just above the diff support for the C4. Because of course that doesn't move and that's going to still get airflow coming from underneath the car, and it would just act as a nice little protector, and then I can run the two pipes from here along and into the transmission. Don't know yet, we'll see. We might be able to mount it somewhere at the front, but yeah, we'll see how we go. As you can see, I've got two batteries because this one has dropped a cell, but that wasn't why my car wasn't starting. So yeah, I checked all my coil packs, all my spark plug leads. I even ground off the chassis earths. So that's the chassis earth for the battery sitting here in the back at the moment. And I did that one. I did the one that the cab mounts to. Actually, I might be able to get up under there. Stand by. Alright, so we're under the cab. And there's a nice big earth strap. So I shaved all that back. And rather than mount it up here on the back end of the chassis rail where it was, on the back end of the cab, sorry, I noticed a little square bolt plug on the bottom of the floor. There's another one over there. And there's one back over here. And that one's unfortunately, I don't know what they're for. They appear not to go through into the cab. Possibly the old supports for the old fuel tank, I'm not too sure. But it was as good a place as any, being that it's welded to the cab and it gives me a nice solid support for my earth strap. And then there's one, well, the other end of that, that's the power lead. But just beside that, there was one on the chassis rail that goes to the engine. And I ground that one off as well. Unfortunately, that didn't fix my problem. Hang on, get out. Right, so that didn't fix my problem. So I pulled all the ECU out and started having a look at that in case there was a wiring issue. And I run all sorts of jumpers and it still wouldn't go. And then I had an epiphany. When I built this engine, or when I started building this engine, I was going to do a twin turbo setup. But then I ended up going with the C4 stuff. So, in my memory, I have decapped the factory 8 injectors, meaning that they each now flow 250% more fuel than the factory injector ever used to. And that causes a problem when you're running a stock ECU with a stock tune with effectively stock spark plugs. Which I took out. Oh, I've cleaned them. So yeah, I took the spark plugs out. I don't know where I put them at the moment. And they were basically filthy. I don't know where they've gone, but they were black as the ace of spades. And they were just covered in oil and soot and grease. And they're in there now. They're all nice and clean. Gave them a spray with some brake clean and they've come back up just like new. So what was happening, obviously the first time I started it, in excitement to hear it roar, it ran, and it ran good. And every time after that, it ran progressively worse and worse as my spark plugs fouled up. So until the time when I moved the car, and of course it wouldn't start at all because the spark plugs literally looked like they were covered in wet spray paint. Just black, absolutely black. So I have a new injector rail from a 2003 or 2004 LS1, so the injectors flow slightly more, and I'm not going to decap them this time. The stock injectors with the pintle hats and everything still installed. So I'm going to quickly test those. I bought a little injector tester because I even tested the injectors while they were fitted in the car. Hang on, we'll just make you face the batteries for a sec. So I bought a little injector tester, hook it up to 12 volts, hook that up onto the injector pigtail, which I've just got. Plug that on, tell it to pulse once or pulse twice or pulse indefinitely, and you'll hear the injectors pulsing. So I'm going to go and test them shortly because I've literally just picked up the injector rail. Check that the injectors are all good. And then once I get the PCM back, because I've dropped that over at a local speed shop, a number of people recommended this guy, and so I went to him and he's going to put a bass tune on it for a cam or a mild cam, and then when you take the airflow meter out of it, the muffless, there we go. It's going to demuff it and have a bass tune, and then when I get that back tomorrow, hopefully by the end of the weekend or early next week, the engine will be running again. And then I can start on things like the rest of the trucks. I've just ordered a whole heap more parts out of America because Big Yellow over here has been sold, and that'll be going to a new home in about 10 days. So we'll be progressing on this because I'll have a whole garage and a lot more room. And one of the progressions is also going to be this army box here, which I'm going to get painted in an army green colour, kind of like what's on the inside. I'll just give it a bit of a sand and a prime and a paint, which is going to mount in the bed over here. So yeah, I'm going to have a lot to do in the next couple of months, and hopefully before February next year, the cab's all in, done, painted, windows are fitted, doors, glass are all fitted, the door locks are all done, it'll lock and close and start and drive. I've just taken the seat out while I'm working in it because it just makes it easier to work in here. And I'll get it down to the beach shop in 2021 and just park it in town if I have to. I'll get some rims, but I haven't quite decided what rims I want yet. I'm definitely not going to stay with those BMW ones, and I'm not running those Corvette Camaro ones either. So, but I do have 4 of those, and they'll become for sale once I get some rims. So anyway, that's my update. Still got the truck, it's about to progress, and yeah, so watch this space.